One of the best parts of Halloween was always when my favorite TV shows would get involved in the spookiest season of the year. Many shows would often have a Halloween themed episode for the month, and yeah, you would have the expected Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, but a lot of sitcoms would also throw their own spin on Halloween. And since you can't spell slaughter without laughter, here are 10 side-splitting Halloween sitcom episodes. Cheers, Bar Wars 5, The Final Judgment. Cheers is an all-time classic when it comes to sitcoms, and it's no stranger to Halloween episodes. Bar Wars 5 The Final Judgment pits Cheers against Gary's Tavern in a bar vs. bar prank-off during Halloween. Determined to win at any cost, Sam is willing to do just about anything to get one up over Gary. After Gary pranks the bar with a rigged jukebox, he comes in to inform them that the prank war is over, as he's just been told by his doctor that his blood pressure is too high and the pranking could kill him. Sam, of course, isn't about to let that stop him from winning, and with a suggestion from Frasier, they decide to set up a floating hologram of Carla's head to give Gary the fright of his life. Meanwhile, Frasier and Lilith argue over their son taking part in Halloween, because Lilith is stuck up and doesn't know how to have fun. Well, the hologram seems to work like a charm, as it ends up killing Gary. However, Sam just isn't buying that he's dead. Not even when he's carrying his casket, and after his burial. It all culminates with it being revealed that Gary is still alive, and the whole thing was a setup by everyone at Cheers, along with Gary, to get Sam real good. The episode has a fun Halloween vibe. I love the vintage decorations branded about the bar, as they really don't make them like this anymore. Halfway through the episode and we're past Halloween, so for the remainder you lose that bit of Halloween fun the episode started with. So because of that, the episode gets a 2 on the Hallow-meter. The Hallow-meter is just how Halloweeny the episode is, not its overall quality. The episode is actually really funny and definitely worth a Halloween watch. Also, Frasier brings his son into Cheers to trick or treat, but why would bar patrons all have candy on them? Really makes you think. The Office Costume Contest. The Office has had plenty of Halloween themed episodes, but we're going with Costume Contest from season 7. This year, The Office is holding a costume contest to celebrate Halloween, with the winner getting a book of coupons worth over $15,000 in savings, despite Oscar pointing out you would have to spend close to $200,000 to take advantage of said coupons. Meanwhile, Michael is upset because he thinks corporate stole an idea from Daryl without giving him credit, until he finds out Daryl did get credit and went to someone higher with the idea after Michael shut it down. So of course Michael overreacts and thinks they're no longer friends. The rest of the office is acting all weird after being invited to a party by Danny, who Pam went on a couple dates with, leading Pam and Jim to confront him and ask why he never called her back. It all ends with Oscar winning the costume contest despite just wearing normal everyday clothes, and Mindy Kaling doing what she's best at, playing the victim. The episode is funny with a nice Halloween vibe. You've got decorations all around the office, costumes, and even a nice little monster mash during the costume contest itself. There's a really funny bit where Michael calls Daryl Blackula simply because he's dressed as Dracula and he's black, but Daryl corrects him and tells him no, he's just Dracula. Overall, because of the costumes, decorations, and monster mash, I give Costume Contest a 3 on the Hallow-meter. Everybody loves Raymond, Halloween candy. After trying to make the moves on his wife, Ray gets stopped in his tracks because she's all out of her stuff. She suggests he gets some things if he wants to take his little friend out more often, or the other option, maybe a little snip-snip. Ray speaks with his brother, who tells him a horror story of someone he knew who got the snip, so things it is. He just so happened to grab a box of brightly colored things, and for some reason they take them out of the box and place them in a white paper bag and put them in their kitchen cupboard. Ray's father comes over dressed as Frankenstein's monster so he can hand out candy while Ray and Deborah take the kids out trick-or-treating. But after Frank runs out of candy, well, I think you know where this one is going. Yeah, he hands out the brightly colored things, thinking they're chocolate coins. So now Ray is on the prowl looking for any kids that may have come to their house, while Deborah apologizes to the neighbors for what the father-in-law handed out to the trick-or-treaters. Another fun episode with lots of Halloween ambience, but the best part is when Peter Boyle comes in as Frankenstein's monster, a role he played to perfection in the 1974 Mel Brooks comedy Young Frankenstein. For the fun costumes and Peter Boyle as Frankenstein, I'm giving Halloween Candy a 3 on the Hallow-meter. Happy Days, Haunted. If I could only go back in time, I would be set. Happy Days Haunted follows Richie Cunningham and best friends Potsy and Ralph as they're preparing for a Halloween party. Only problem is they don't want the demons to find out, so Ralph says he's gonna have it at the old Simpsons house. A supposed haunted house where legend has it, anyone that goes in loses their head. Ralph asks Richie to check it out for him, and when he does, he sees something so terrifying, he hightails it out of there. When he gets home, he tells his father that he thought he saw a headless body in the closet, but his father tells him it's just an old legend and there is no ghost. Richie then asks the Fonz for advice, but he's far too busy ruining old Halloween decorations, but does he not know how much those are worth now? The night of the party, and Richie arrives at the haunted house with his girl, and the whole thing turned out to be a prank by Ralph. Ralph continues to mess with Richie throughout the night and gives him one last fright with a headless dummy in that same closet. The episode just oozes Halloween. I absolutely adore all the vintage Halloween decorations and would kill to have them. The old costumes are great, and everyone is just having a fun time bobbing for apples and doing all the typical Halloween things. They do make the episode kind of creepy as well. For a show that's supposed to be funny, it gets spooky for a bit when Richie is checking out the house prior to the party. But because of all the decor, costumes, and Halloween tomfoolery, this episode gets a 4 on the Hallow-meter. I do need to ask though, why does Richie's father Howard ask a trick-or-treater for a kiss? Was this a normal thing back in the day? Because, yeah.
How about a little kiss?
That 70s show, Halloween. Going from the 1950s with Happy Days, we leap forward a couple decades with the 70s and that 70s show, Halloween. While the gang hangs around wondering what to do for Halloween, they learn that Fez has never gone trick-or-treating, so they take him out and then enjoy a nice family-friendly Texas Chainsaw Massacre right afterwards. Next they go to their old school which mysteriously burnt down to tell some spooky stories, but they soon discover something much more terrifying, their permanent records. The gang begins to turn on one another as secrets are revealed, leading them to do the only thing they can to destroy the evil contained within the pages, burying them under a blood moon. Meanwhile, Kitty and Red are reminiscing their first Halloween together in their house when Kitty found out she was pregnant for the first time, and we get some more fun 50s Halloween shenanigans. The episode overall is fun, but doesn't have as much Halloween fun that you would expect from an episode like this. We spend the majority of the time in the burnt down school while all the characters all infight, with brief glimpses of Halloween decor. The mood overall is a bit spooky and they use classic horror gags for jokes throughout the episode, but because of a lack of Halloween ambiance, I can only give this one a 2 on the Hallow-meter. Still good fun for a Halloween watch though. Frasier Halloween. A spin-off of Cheers, Frasier 2 has had its own Halloween-themed episodes, and for this list we're going to go with an episode simply titled Halloween. Frasier's brother Niles is going to be throwing a Halloween costume party where everyone must dress as a literary figure. Before going to the party, Frasier learns that his producer Roz may or may not be pregnant. At the party, Frasier accidentally lets it slip to Daphne that Roz is pregnant, and a drunk Niles overhears, except he thinks Frasier got Daphne pregnant. What follows is basically a game of telephone, as Niles hears things taken out of context from different people, leading him to try and propose to Daphne because in his head, if his brother won't take care of her, he will, despite he himself already being married. The episode is really funny and you can see the jokes coming from a mile away, but they're played to perfection. There's a bit of Halloween atmosphere, but majority of the episode takes place at Niles' place and he's not really known for being anything but stuffy. The episode also ends on a to be continued and kind of a downer note, but the rest of the episode is really good. But with a real lack of Halloween mood, I can only give this episode a 1 on the Hallow-meter. Still a good episode, just lacking in Halloween charm. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Hex, and the Single Guy. Before Will Smith got completely destroyed by a woman that probably never cared about him to begin with, he had one of the biggest shows on TV with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and even he had a Halloween episode with Season 4's Hex and the Single Guy. It's Halloween and the Bankses are preparing for the fright-filled night when Hillary tells everyone she's going to be contacting her dead fiancé through a seance. Her family refuses to join her until Vivian makes them all feel real guilty and they decide to tag along. Carlton dresses as his hero Macaulay Culkin, even though he looks more like Wesley Snipes from Demolition Man, and Jeffrey scares a bunch of trick-or-treaters with a Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus mask. When they arrive, they're met by Scorpius the Magnificent, who will be performing the seance. Will, of course, is having none of it when Scorpius claims to be channeling Trevor, Hilary's fiance. This leads to Scorpius putting a hex on Will, which he also shrugs off. When they return home, bad things start happening to everyone. Uncle Phil gets accused of taking a bribe, Ashley gets attacked by the tennis ball machine, and Hilary hooks up with Jazz, who throws Uncle Phil out of the house. Will rushes back to Scorpius only to find the house changed and Scorpius not knowing who he is. Will suddenly wakes up from his nightmare and it was all just a bad dream. Until everything starts all over again and he's forced to relive the day for eternity. Or at least until he finally wakes up. Hex and the Single Guy is a fun Halloween episode. It's really funny and has a great Halloween mood. There's fun decorations, trick-or-treaters, and the seance is fun. This episode gets a 3 on the Hallow-meter and is definitely a great addition to a Halloween marathon. Home Improvement, Crazy for You. Back in the 90s, you really couldn't have a Halloween without Home Improvement, and the episode Crazy for You from Season 3 is one of my favorites. Tim Taylor, known for pranking everyone during Halloween, gets a taste of his own medicine when a viewer named Rose starts sending him letters at work. He doesn't just get letters, he gets homemade cookies and creepy phone calls as well. However, it looks like his wife and her friend are both in on the prank. After an all-female audience gives Tim the spooks because he doesn't know which one could be Rose, we learn that Al and Heidi are also in on the prank and that Rose will be at his Halloween party later that night. During the party, Tim becomes paranoid, unsure of who Rose could be. He makes a mad dash to the bedroom to call 911, but that's when Rose sneaks up behind him and reveals herself to be Al. Home Improvement was always great when it came to its Halloween episodes. I mean, these really are just filled with Halloween goodness. Everything from the sets and costumes, even the transitions between scenes are all really spooky and fun. The makeups are surprisingly well done as well for what is just a silly sitcom. But taking all of that into account, I can't help but give this episode a 4 on the Hallow-meter. The episode itself might not be super funny, but it's enjoyable and carried by its Halloween spirit. Family Matters, Dark and Stormy Night. Another staple of 90s television, and one of my favorites from my childhood. Family Matters had a lot of fun Halloween episodes, and Dark and Stormy Night was always a fun watch. As the Winslows prepare to take out young Richie for a night of trick-or-treating, although I'm not sure why they all need to go take him out, it begins to storm, putting a big halt to their plans. Instead, they decide to stay inside and wait out the weather, while they tell a spooky story that each member, including Steve Urkel, all add their little touch to. The Winslows are all vampires living in a large castle and loved by the peasants of the village. When Sir Stephen arrives, asking if he can stay the night as his carriage is broken down. Stephen is given a room where he finds a young peasant girl named Laura who has been tied up behind a trick wall. Learning the Winslows are vampires, Stephen takes it upon himself to put an end to their reign of terror. Stephen and Carl end up in a sword fight, which puts anything Star Wars has done in the past 20 years to shame, when Carl gets the upper hand. But before he can put Stephen down for good and feast upon him, Sir Stephen pulls out a chunk of brie with garlic, and vampires just hate garlic. Stephen then pulls down the shades because it's all of a sudden daylight, killing the vampiric Winslows. There's a big twist at the end though, when after Stephen frees Laura, it turns out he was a vampire as well, but why the garlic or sunlight didn't affect him remains to be seen. Dark and Stormy Night is silly as hell, but it's still a fun little episode. There's a lot of Halloween goodness and a nice spooky atmosphere to everything, and because of that, I give this a 4 on the Hallow-meter. Roseanne Buu. Buu is the very first Halloween episode from Roseanne and one of the best. Not just from Roseanne, but I would put it up against any sitcom Halloween episode. 2 weeks until Halloween and the Connors are already preparing, making candy apples and playing pranks on one another. Roseanne, Jackie, and Dan all create a scary story about an escaped mental patient and terrify Becky and Darlene as any good parent would do. It then becomes a prank off as Roseanne and Dan compete in being the master of Halloween. Roseanne tries to get Dan with a fake electrocution, which doesn't go anywhere, while Jackie brings them a tape of spooky sound effects for Halloween night. Dan comes in with his hand bleeding and gets Roseanne with a fake blood prank. Halloween night and Dan is waiting for a call from a guy about a job he's waiting on, while everyone else prepares for trick-or-treaters. Roseanne tries pranking Dan one more time with fake choking, but he's way too good to fall for that one. Trick-or-treaters start coming, and they don't just get candy, they also get a spooky walkthrough of the Connors' house. It all culminates with the man Dan has been waiting for showing up and going along with Roseanne's plan to prank Dan, nearly giving him a heart attack and declaring herself the master of Halloween. Buu really has everything you want in a Halloween episode, and it's loads of fun. Their little house walkthrough is great, and if I was a kid, I would have killed to go to their house. You really won't find any show that knows how to capture the Halloween spirit as much as this one, and because of this, I give Roseanne Buu a 4 on the Hallow-meter. Well, that's 10 side-splitting Halloween sitcom episodes. There are so many of these to choose from. I really just went with things either from my childhood or stuff I saw later in life that I enjoyed. I mean, you could easily do a list of like 100 of these because there are so many shows that have done a Halloween-themed episode and many shows that have done multiple. But I would love to know what Halloween-themed sitcom episodes would make your list. And if sitcoms aren't your thing and you're looking for something a little more on the spooky side, well, I've got 15 X-Files episodes right here that are perfect for Halloween. I hope you all have a happy Halloween whether you celebrate or not, and I will see you in the next video.